A thick fog enveloped a forgotten old house standing on the outskirts of a small town. Disgusting thickets of ivy wrapped around its walls, as if trying to choke the last breath out of the ancient bricks. Neighbors avoided the place, for something lurked in the shadows of its dark windows, something sinister, like a dead cold. In this house, lost in time, there was a secret that was frightening to remember. Once, long ago, there had been a murder here. The family who lived in this house had disappeared without a trace. Rumors spread through the town that they had been swallowed up by the darkness itself, that something sinister dwelled here. The local old-timers told of footsteps and sounds heard in the house at night, as if someone was trying to get to the very soul of this cursed place. The shadows coming out of the cellar seemed undead, having found freedom after years of imprisonment. When darkness came, the house came alive. From the old windows came ghostly lights flickering in the gloom. The centuries-old wooden floors creaked under the invisible weight of someone's footsteps. The air was filled with an atmosphere of fear, as if the darkness itself was penetrating the walls. On the stairs, someone's feet were cautiously descending down into the basement. Rustles were heard, as if something was lurking in the shadows, preparing to come out into the light. And then, in the darkness, the glint of cold metal flickered, mingling with the red light bursting from the ancient walls. Hearts pounding in unison with the rustles seemed to be the only sound in this darkness. Then a shadow rising from the basement began to slowly fill the rooms, drawing everything into its cold-blooded abode. And then, in the utter darkness, the last breath sounded, met only by the ghastly laughter of the unseen murderer. But what happened after that remained a mystery. All that remained of this terrible story was the darkness consuming the old house and its terrible memories. The darkness grew even denser, as if it was consuming time itself. The forgotten house stood as if buried under a pile of memories and untold fears. Ominous rustles continued to echo in the night, like an unknowable whisper from the past. As time passed, the town forgot about the old house, hidden by the eternal darkness. The inhabitants preferred to avoid it, as if they could feel the breath of unknown evil on their skin. But what went on in the mysterious nooks and crannies of this house? In the twilight light that sometimes escaped from under the half-rotten wooden shutters, shadows could be seen moving slowly along the old walls. Like ghosts of bygone days, they created their own unknown ballet. One day, someone decided to open the doors of the house again. The dilapidated lock rattled open, as if the house itself had been waiting for a visitor for a long time. Footsteps echoed in the half-empty corridor, echoing off the forgotten walls. Gradually, the light of the lanterns began to illuminate the lost corners, and whoever dared to enter began to comprehend the mysteries of the house. In the rooms, like old photographs, moments of the past presented themselves. A family, happy and selfless, and then a shadow struck with metal. As the explorer moved deeper inside, however, the old house came alive. The rustling increased, the shadows danced an increasingly disorderly dance, and a tense atmosphere hung in the air. But now, in the very basement, just when it seemed that the mystery would be revealed, something unknown grabbed its breath and pulled it into the darkness. The dreadful laughter returned, and the light seemed to burst from within the walls, leaving the explorer in total darkness. But what happened next remained a mystery. Since then, no one had dared to re-enter that old house, which seemed consumed by the very essence of evil. It stood like a tomb of forgotten memories, where the shadow of the past turned to eternal darkness. The darkness enveloped the explorer, consuming him like a hungry creature. The sounds of footsteps and rustles became a shimmering chorus, filling the air around them. The walls, like witnesses to the past, began to whisper their secrets, luring him into the deepest depths of the dungeon. The explorer paced forward, tormented by the unknown power that lurked in this house. Forgotten rooms and dark corridors revealed their secrets, overwhelming the man with their inscrutable essence. The deeper he penetrated, the more darkness engulfed his consciousness. Everything around him seemed alive, breathing, as if the house itself took him in as its own. Fear and anxiety mingled with the damp, vile air, creating a mystical atmosphere. In the impenetrable darkness, experiencing the gaze of unknown entities, the explorer continued on his way. The stairs creaked under his weight, and the walls, as if possessing their own will, seemed to laugh at his fear. He felt something following him in the darkness, something intangible but eager. The light of the flashlight struggled helplessly against the unknown force that was consuming him like grains of sand in a storm. In this old house, where shadow and reality merged into one, the explorer continued his journey into the unknown. What awaits him at the end of this forgotten corridor remains a mystery. The mystery, like the house, seemed to swallow him up, leaving only echoes of the past and a dark trail in the gloom. The explorer's trail was lost in the darkness, as if it were the same one that had swallowed up those who had disappeared years ago. Footsteps sounded deafening in the void, and every moment was a reminder that something, unknown and terrifying, lived in this house. The rooms revealed their stories in the half-light, but the mystery continued to linger in the shadows. Dark figures, like ghosts of the past, glided past, disappearing into uncharted corners. The explorer took in every sound, every whisper, trying to unravel the secret that this house held. The temperature suddenly seemed cold, like the breath of the dead. The walls began to respond vividly to the presence whispers that seemed more and more distinct, as if inviting into their embrace. Every corner, every shadow, seemed to have a life of its own. The explorer felt something invisible rising out of the darkness, like waves surging toward the shore. Silhouettes floated before his eyes, and voices, inaudible and somber, seemed to penetrate the ancient walls. At one point, in the very center of the old house, the explorer stopped. The darkness had become so dense that it seemed to press him against the walls, and the sounds around him faded away like light in a fading lamp. Fear and impatience created an atmosphere where time disappeared and every moment seemed like an eternity. What happened next remained unknown. The dark house swallowed the explorer, as if an ancient burial ground had swallowed the last witness to its terrible secrets. The shadows continued to dance in the semi-darkness, and the silence became an eternal witness to the past, where forgotten secrets awaited the next one who dared to enter their sinister labyrinth. The darkness absorbed every sound, every shadow, as if trying to erase the traces of living beings. Everything in this house seemed dead and forgotten by time. No footsteps, no breathing, only an ominous silence, as if refraining from revealing its secrets. The explorer stood in the darkness, confused by the unknown atmosphere that enveloped him from all sides. The forgotten house, as if breathing its own fear, absorbed his presence. His footsteps merged with the voices, the ghosts of the past, as if he himself became part of this ominous symphony. The walls, as if alive, began to whisper of the past. Sounds, inarticulate and frightening, like ghosts, came from forgotten corners. Shadows soared upward, dancing their silent waltz, disappearing into the darkness like captive souls. The light of the lantern could no longer pierce the darkness. It had become like a living thing, absorbing the light and returning only shapeless shadows. The explorer moved forward as if into the void, but each step seemed to be only an echo of the past. What was happening in this house remained a mystery. Sounds, like echoes of events that happened centuries ago, carried from the darkness, disappearing into unknown galleries. Time, as if frozen, created an atmosphere where the boundaries between reality and nightmare merged together. The explorer walked nowhere, absorbed by the house, as if he himself had been swallowed by time. The shadows continued their eternal dance, and the forgotten walls kept their terrible secrets, ready to swallow the next person who dared to enter this bottomless darkness. The explorer continued his journey in the darkness, lost in the labyrinth of forgotten memories. The dark rooms, like doors to the past, revealed their secrets, but each answer raised new questions. Somewhere in this house, in the shadows that danced across the walls, lay the truth terrible and unknown. The explorer's footsteps echoed in the void, creating the illusion that every step was a step into the unknown. The walls, like ancient witnesses, whispered among themselves, passing on their stories to the next seeker of truth. Time became an indefinite concept. Minutes and hours melted away in this atmosphere of eternal night. The explorer felt his consciousness blurring like a shadow on old walls, and he became part of something more than just a man. The sound suddenly intensified, as if the whole house had awakened from an age-old sleep. Shadows took shape, and flickering lights illuminated the darkness like the last lights in a forgotten lighthouse. Something mysterious and terrifying seemed to be approaching, but the nature of the creature remained a mystery. The explorer moved forward, shaken by the sudden awakening of this place. But what awaited him next in this vast darkness remained unknown. Maybe he would become part of the very shadow that lurked in this house, or maybe he would discover the answers he had been searching for so long. Only the darkness around him knew what was happening at this moment, and it was silent, like a guardian of the terrible secrets buried in the eternal gloom of the old house. In the darkness, the explorer continued his endless journey. Like a vortex of darkness, the house swallowed him, and the shadows, like the hands of unknown creatures, pulled him deeper into their bottomless labyrinth. Somewhere inside there was a rustling sound, quiet but ominous, like the sigh of the long gone. The rooms became more and more confusing, the walls seemed to shift, changing their shape. The steps of the staircases creaked under an invisible weight, and the air was filled with an eerie energy. The explorer felt his gaze penetrating the coating of time, seeing fragments of former scenes like ghosts in a dance of light and shadow. At one point, the darkness became so thick that it seemed to take on real form. The unknown forces awakened by his arrival had created a sort of creature out of pure darkness. Its contours floated in the void, and from that darkness ominous waves burst forth, enveloping the explorer. Something ancient and devoid of form began to envelop him, like a cloud of nightmares penetrating every cell of his being. Forces that had slumbered for centuries were awakening, and the old house seemed to breathe, as if living a life of its own. The explorer plunged into this darkness as if into a bottomless abyss with no end. The shadows became part of him, and he felt the past and present merging into one. The secrets that had been hidden for so long were becoming part of him, like keys to forgotten locks. But what was happening in the deepest corner of the darkness remained hidden from view. The world that emerged inside the old house was unfathomable and unknown. Only the vast darkness kept its secrets, like an eternal guardian of the fears and mysteries that permeated this old house. In this vortex of darkness, the explorer lost his identity, as if dissolving into the vast darkness. The creature created from the darkness became his guide to the unknown depths of the house, where secrets hung in the air like unknown spirits. The walls swallowed his gaze like witnesses, and each passage through the dark corridors seemed an endless path to the unprecedented. The creature, molded of darkness, floated smoothly beside him, its contours dissolving into the void, but its essence penetrated the explorer like a touch of a long-forgotten secret. Sounds, flickering lights, shadows, everything merged into an indistinguishable mass. The explorer was part of this strange dance where the boundaries of reality and illusion dissolved into one. His consciousness became a stream of endless memories, as if he were connected to the very essence of this old house. What was happening in the deepest corners of the darkness remained a mystery. The creature weaving a vortex around the explorer seemed to be guarding its darkest secrets. Time lost its meaning, and past, present and future merged in a vast abyss. The explorer was swallowed up in this vast darkness, as if becoming part of something more than just a man. He carried forgotten stories and dead memories, and his essence became part of the eternity of this old house, where the mysteries continued to live on despite being covered in the dust of time. In this embrace of darkness, the explorer became an integral part of the house itself. His essence became part of the forgotten walls, secret corners and flickering memories. Time disappeared, as if it had no meaning in this fathomless space where past and present were woven into an unfathomable pattern. The creature from the darkness guided him through the maze of forgotten rooms and corridors, like a guide in a world where the boundaries between living and dead, real and fantasy dissolved. Shadows danced around him like ghosts brought to life by the touch of long-forgotten secrets. The explorer witnessed the fate of this house, where every creak of the steps and every rustle of the walls told its own story. The creature led him through uncharted passageways, as if through a time portal where the past penetrated the present and the present merged with the future. What remained in the darkness of the deepest corners of this house remained a mystery. A being of unknowable darkness led him further into the vast darkness, where the ending disappeared and only the endless plunge into the abyss of mystery continued. In this house, time had no beginning and no end. The explorer became part of his soul, and his history merged with the history of this place, where old mysteries came to life and continued to weave their unknown plots. The explorer was completely consumed by the darkness, becoming part of this house as if his own soul became part of the walls and corridors. Memories and secrets merged in his mind, like a thread weaving an unknown carpet of time from them. The creature from the darkness guided him to the center of the house, to the place where the mystery seemed most dense. There, in the void, as if in the heart of the darkness, he felt a flickering light, like the last chord of a long-gone symphony. In that moment, in that mysterious light, the explorer felt the shadow release him. The creature from the darkness dissolved as if vaporized into thin air and disappeared, leaving him standing in the semi-darkness of this house. Around him, the walls began to whisper their last words, the shadows danced their last dance, and the explorer realized that his journey had come to an end. Everything in this house, from the forgotten walls to the flickering memories, seemed somehow different, as if it had changed in the course of his wanderings. He was left standing in the center of the room, as if he were the last witness to what had happened. And then, in the darkness that remained after the creature had disappeared from the darkness, he heard whispers of long-forgotten voices. They sounded like a farewell, like echoes of the past, and he felt that his mission in this strange house was complete. With his next step he stepped out of the house, freed from the shackles of darkness, but forever bearing the mysterious imprints of the past. The old house, like an ancient keeper of secrets, remained standing in its isolated silence, like a guardian forever keeping its dark secrets.